This is a meeting or an interaction that we had thought would take place on a regular basis from 2021. You recall that we had a similar meeting and had charted a course of regular engagements with our revenue generating agencies last year. But then the COVID came in and distorted all our arrangements, and therefore we could not continue with our program as envisaged. Thank God, the situation has improved, and we believe that it is time to try it once again. So this meeting is the first meeting in the series of meetings that the Senate Committee in a modified finance, in a modified form, will have with all the major revenue generating agencies of the federal government of Nigeria. I said modified because the leadership of the Senate will be leading these quarterly engagements. We hope that after every 3 months, there will be an engagement with you, and the engagement is purely to review the performances of various revenue generating agencies. We all have targets, I hope, but I know that the major ones have set targets for generation and collection, and we'll be looking at how you are able to meet your targets and where you are not able to meet your targets. We should be able to understand why the inability or the failure to achieve the targets. Today, more than at any time in the life of this administration, the federal government needs more and more and more revenues. We all know that this administration, and in fact, let me say our country, has serious deficit in our infrastructure. And for us to develop as a country, we have to develop our infrastructure. There is no way we can run away from that and expect to make any serious and meaningful and sustainable progress. Therefore, the options are there for us to generate our revenues internally, and of course, be prudent. And I like to subscribe to the idea expressed by the Federal Minister, the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, that maybe some agencies of government that might have outlived their usefulness should be merged to reduce cost of running government. But essentially, the deficits would have to come from somewhere, since we have not been able to generate sufficiently. And we borrow funds, both within and outside the country. That's not desirable, but it's a necessity. We pay so much in servicing the debt, and we should ask ourselves, can't we do better in terms of generating more revenues internally? And the answer is yes, we can do better if we task ourselves and remain focused and purposeful. So the essence of this engagement and subsequent ones is not investigative or interrogating why certain things are not in place. It's coming together to work together to ensure that we not only meet our targets, but even go beyond our targets. 2022, the National Assembly assumed, and rightly so, that our government-owned enterprises can generate even up to 2.5 trillion. In fact, I think up to 3 trillion. If we are and remain with that mindset, that we can achieve that. And of course, also ensure that we oversight to stall any possibility of unwarranted expenditures by agencies of government. But that does not mean in any way that is going to be some kind of investigation on what you do, but encouragement on what you need to do. And in the subsequent meetings, and even this one, which will hold in closed session, there should be no hold-back discussions. Where an agency feels it is incumbent in any way from achieving its target, it should say so that we are able to prescribe the right diagnosis and, of course, apply the necessary medicine for it to perform. As a National Assembly, let me say that the Senate particularly will be stiff on generating more and more revenue. We'll be rigid, we'll continue to insist, because we believe that this is one sure and guaranteed way of reducing our deficit, of reducing our borrowing. I'm not an economist, but even as an individual, we lead our lives, and we know that if we can generate internally, we minimize borrowing. Even though Nigeria has not reached an undesirable level of borrowing, but still, if we can have other means and ways of getting more revenues, why must we borrow to the extent that we are doing? This committee, I say, is modified because as a Senate, the leadership of the Senate believes that we can do far, far better. And we have seen signs that we can do that well. When last year, some of the agencies performed beyond expectation. So it's an opportunity for us to save our economy, to enhance our economy, and of course, make Nigeria achieve more infrastructure development, which is the goal of this administration, and in fact, the goal of every Nigerian. Because we like to see more and more roads, more and more rail lines crisscrossing this country, hospitals, and so on and so forth. So on behalf of my colleagues here, and indeed the entire Senate and the National Assembly, I want to welcome you and assure you that this is by no means an investigative engagement. It's not. we are looking for the best out of every institution and agency of government. The best on how we can generate revenue, we can now give government those revenues, and where the law allows, whatever is appropriate remains with that organization. I want to assure you again that please be open with us. For most of us, we remain here to listen to the opening remarks by the major agencies. We know that you have done your best, but there are some that I think need some little bit of push, little bit of encouragement. And this arm of government will continue to work with you, even though the ones who spend the money are on the side of the executive. But we believe that when you generate the money, we appropriate it. Prudence is of essence here when we spend our money. And when we borrow, like the National Assembly has always tried to do, we borrow to treat specific projects and programs of government, even though many Nigerians feel, no, we are borrowing too much. Well, if you don't have the money and you have the need, what are your options? You have to be prudent. You have to work so hard to generate more. Look at other options of funding, probably BOT or PPP and the rest of them. And I will encourage us as a government to look in all directions where we can have sources of funding, where we don't have to spend anything. If there will be public-private partnership that will help, we should do so. Where it is bill, operate, transfer that will be out to help us, we should adopt that. But we must generate our own revenues. And I want to thank you for coming. And I want to urge all of us here to observe the COVID-19 protocol, because I can see this hall is full, and it's reflective of how our treasury will be full. Thank you very much. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Now, to the glory of the Almighty God, I declare this engagement, this interactive session, open, and is open for honest and sincere discussions. Thank you very much.
Quintessential President of the Senate